Your body is a protein-producing machine. Proteins are responsible for the structure of your body and the function of your body. And the expression of proteins really is the expression of life. And so, in order for every cell in your body except red blood cells to make a protein, a gene has to be regulated. So genes are like Christmas tree lights. They're turning on and off all the time. When they turn on, or when they become regulated, they upregulate and they make a new protein. When they downregulate, they shut off and stop making that protein. So if you're thinking the same way, if you're making the same choices, you're demonstrating the same behaviors, you're creating the same experiences, producing the same emotions, you keep the same lights on and the other lights off, and now you're headed for a genetic destiny. We found just in our research that when people really understand what they're doing from an internal process, that they could regulate and change their genetic expression, and that's exactly what happened. We had a lot of genes upregulated, but we had 9 very important genes, and one of them was the gene to suppress cancer growth. Another one was nerve cells actually regenerating, actually not just making new connections, but growing new neurons as the result of novel experiences. In addition to that, the gene that makes antioxidants, that creates youth and longevity, was activated. The gene for stem cells to become activated and migrate to an area of damaged tissue and regenerate it was activated as well. I now know that we can regulate genes, and when those genes become regulated, they make proteins that begin to heal the body. So it's not uncommon then. The reason I did the research was because we have a lot of students in our work that were diagnosed with cancer. And cancer, of course, then, every time a person hears the word cancer and they're given that diagnosis, the first emotion that they feel is fear. And the moment they feel fear, no new information can enter their nervous system that is not equal to that emotional state. In other words, they'll only accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to that emotional state. So they get the diagnosis of fear. All of a sudden, their body's altered internally. They're looking at the doctor. They're taking a snapshot of that moment. They're creating a long-term memory. Every time they think about what the doctor said, they're conditioning their body to become the mind of fear. They can, with all of their conscious mind, which is 5% of who we are, say, I'm going to be healthy, 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 I'm going to be well, I'm well, I'm well. And that thought's going to stop right at the brainstem and never make it to the body because it's not in alignment with our emotional state. So then people then, when they hear the voodoo curse, when they get the death sentence, 3 months to live, 6 months to live, 9 months to live, 12 months to live, that information goes right in and it begins to program their autonomic nervous system to that outcome. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is then the person is at a war with themselves because they're waiting for the diagnosis to change to feel the relief from the fear and emptiness that they're experiencing. And that's separation, that's lack. What we now know is that change a person's emotional state and teach them how to regulate those states, not just for 5 minutes, and we have people that have mastered it, that can regulate heart coherence or an elevated emotion for an hour. So think about this. You change a person's emotional state from fear to gratitude. The emotional signature of gratitude means it has already happened. People give thanks when they get something, so gratitude is a state of receivership. Change a person's state to a state of gratitude, then they will accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to that emotional state, and they begin to program their autonomic nervous system into a different destiny. That's the easy part. The challenge is to get beyond the emotional addiction of fear, to get beyond our doubt, to get beyond feeling terrible and not doing the work because we don't feel better or don't feel good, getting beyond the stress in our life of trying to manage our world while we're facing a health condition. This is the challenge. But we had a lady that is a psychotherapist, and some years back her husband went to the tallest building in Holland. While she was in the shower, he left, said goodbye to the kids, went to the tallest building in Holland, and jumped off the top of that building and committed suicide. She was waiting for her husband to come home. She didn't know where he was. It was Sunday morning. She's reading some papers in psychology. The kids are playing. Police officers come to the door and they give her the news. Of course, the moment she hears the news, it's a stressful moment. And the moment she feels that change in her internal chemistry, of course, she pays attention to what caused it, and she creates a long-term memory. The children were upset. She was angry. She was sad. She was confused. She was guilty. Every single emotion you can experience, she went through all the stress hormone emotions. And every time she thought about that event, she was producing the same chemistry in her brain and body. And of course, she was conditioning her body into the past. And of course, when you have an experience like that, people in your life treat you equal to the experience, and that becomes your identity. And so you tell the story over and over again, reaffirming it. And she found out after her husband committed suicide that he left her in a very difficult financial situation. Huge debt, successful attorney, but she knew nothing about it. So now her stress levels go up even more, because now it's not only she facing a suicide or a loss, but now she's got a lot of debt. So then over time, she wakes up one morning and she's completely paralyzed from her waist down. She can't get out of bed. She can't move. They rush her to the hospital, and of course she has a gross inflammation in her body, but there's no mechanical problem. She's in the hospital for an extended period of time. She can't feel her legs. She can't move her legs. She can't take care of her kids. She can't work. Now she can't pay all the debts that she has. Stress levels go up even more. It took her a couple weeks to finally get out of the hospital. She still couldn't walk on one leg. She walked with a walker and crutches, couldn't take care of her kids. Depression sets in, stress levels go up. A few months later, she develops all of these ulcerations on all the mucous membranes of her body. Her esophagus, her upper gut, her vagina, her anus, all her mucous membranes are ulcerated. Now she can't eat. And now if you can't eat, you can become chemically imbalanced. So now she's emotionally imbalanced, and now she's chemically imbalanced, and she's physically imbalanced because she's injured. So a few months after that, she's having problems swallowing, and they find a tumor above her stomach, and she has esophageal cancer. And the doctor told her that she had a very short amount of time to live. Now, she came to a workshop that we were doing in Holland, and I remember the day she came in, because she came in with crutches, and she sat in a room of about 500 people on the side, and I saw her walker and her crutches. Now, she's a psychologist, a psychotherapist. She's an educated woman. She's got a master's. She treats conditions. She could, from a psychological standpoint, have the insight of how it all happened, but she couldn't change it. She did one chemotherapy treatment for the cancer, and she said it just about killed her, and she stopped. So she came to our event, and she started doing the work. She had a lot of doubt. And she had a lot of fear. She didn't feel like doing her meditation certain days, but every single day, by creating the elevated emotion combined with a clear intention and changing her state of being and overcoming the past every single day, in a matter of about a year, all of her cancer disappeared. The tumor shrunk. All the ulcerations and all our mucous membranes went away. She has no paralysis, no pain. She has no depression. She owns a hospital now in Holland. She's one of my executive corporate trainers, and she has a new husband and a great guy, and he's a successful person, and she's in love with life. And so we have people that heal from cancer quite a bit, and I'm going to tell you it takes an uncompromising will to do it. But the beauty behind it is when she stands on the stage and she tells her story, and she doesn't look any different than anybody else. She's not wearing white. She's not young and fit. She's just a common person. That so many people, when they hear the story, begin to change their belief about what's possible. And because of her and a few other people that healed themselves of ovarian cancer and a few other big cancers, when they tell their story, more and more people are accepting that it's possible, and that's how we change the paradigm. It's no longer the philosophical component that does it. It's the example of it that does it. And to me, she's the living example of truth. So the interesting thing about that is that if you ask her about her past, she will tell you that it was the best thing that ever happened to her. And if you ask her about her disease, she will tell you the disease lives in the old personality. I'm literally somebody else. And just like a person with a multiple personality disorder that has an allergy to nylon stockings in one personality and type 2 diabetes in another personality, she literally became someone else. And the disease exists in the old person. Now, the beauty behind her is that she understood that the emotion, if she could truly be present and hold an image and rehearse a future and begin to create the emotion, her brain and body would change from living in the past to living in the future. So then if she's feeling fear every single day, then she's in the past. Because the moment she wakes up and searches for that feeling and she gets in touch with that feeling, the feeling is a record of the past and starts influencing her thoughts, then her entire state of being is in the past. Every day as she starts overcoming those emotions and those doubts and those thoughts and attitudes and hardwired behaviors, she's changing her neurocircuitry, she's changing her chemistry, she's changing her hormones, she's even changing her genes. And because she studied it and she understood what she was doing and why and how it got easier. And she said, which I thought was so beautiful, I'm not getting up from this meditation until I'm in love with life. Now, to the materialist who's looking for evidence, she has no reason to be in love with life. She lost her husband, she was in financial crisis, she lost her job, she had no friends, she couldn't take care of her kids, she was paralyzed, she had cancer, she had depression, she had ulcerations. But she said, I'm going to teach my body emotionally what my future is going to feel like before it's made manifest. And over time, overcoming, she became someone else.